Good. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking some time to be here with us. This is a special moment and a unique moment in public land history in this country. What we're going to be doing today is accepting a conservation easement on the city sculpture, roughly a 1,400-acre property in the middle of Garden Valley, Nevada, that is home to one of the most spectacular sculptures on the face of the earth, and is surrounded by a 700,000-acre national monument known as Basin and Range National Monument. So we're going to have a number of speakers come up and talk a little bit about this. We'll sign, the U.S. government will officially take the conservation easement, and then we'll sign some commemorative pieces. But this is a great day for America, and we really appreciate the opportunity to be with you. First, we're going to have Janice Schneider, the Assistant Secretary for Lands and Minerals at the Department of the Interior, come up. She is our ally and champion day in and day out, and has helped drive so many important agendas, whether it be land conservation or energy reform in this country. And so let me turn the mic to Janice Schneider.
Neil, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here. This is a really special occasion, and for me, it's particularly so. My dad actually is an artist. I grew up in New York City. Spent some time at Max's Kansas City myself back in the 70s, because it was New York in the 70s, and so kids were welcome. So it's really great to be here and have the opportunity to participate in this event. You know, the Bureau of Land Management National Conservation Lands includes diverse and magnificent national monuments in 9 western states. In this administration, President Obama has designated 23 national monuments, which is more than any previous administration in history, including that of Theodore Roosevelt. And that's all I'll say. These lands really, they provide abundant recreational opportunities, important scientific research areas, and outstanding ecological and cultural resources. And nowhere is this more evident than in the beautiful Basin and Range National Monument. We've got a gorgeous picture here. The area has incredible mountain vistas, historical artifacts that help us understand our connection to American Indian cultural history, and is home to many, many plants and animals in Nevada. Today, as the director indicated, we're here to commemorate the donation of the conservation easement that will enhance the national monument by forever protecting these areas, including the internationally renowned city earth sculpture. It's been said that this is one of the most important works of art to have been made in the past century, which is pretty significant. And it's accepting this conservation easement as part of the Bureau of Land Management holdings really helps to underscore the diversity and the importance of the Bureau's multiple use and sustained yield mission. So with that, I want to thank everyone for coming. Thanks for allowing me to participate, and I'll turn it over to our terrific State Director in Nevada, John Roos.
Thank you, Janice. I think I just wanted to say a few words about the importance of partnerships, collaboration, and how events like this can bring us together and allow us to do so much more than a federal agency by itself or a state agency by itself. And it takes the workings of a lot of people to be able to make things like this happen. And we're so honored to be here, to be in this room, to be a part of this ceremony to where we're honoring not only a national monument, the Basin and Range, but a work of art created by a man that's just done some fantastic things. And so for the BLM, for BLM Nevada, and for the federal government to be a partner in a scenery like this or a work of art like this is just fantastic. And so from my standpoint, that to me is the most important thing, is just to say thanks to all of our partners. And, you know, again, thanks to the Senator for allowing us to be here and to be in such a sponsor of Nevada. And really, for me, that's all I have to say. I want to turn it over to Michael Govan and let him say a few words as well.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Janice. I can back you up on the most important art, one of the most important artworks in the last century. Thank you, Neil. Neil, you've been so amazing to support this project, to come out there long ago. Thank you, Nick DeBuff at the Department of Interior, and Kai Anderson came out long ago, Aaron Wright at LACMA. There's so many people involved. We'll get to this gentleman in a second. But the Los Angeles County Museum of Art has been so honored to work on this project. This project's been ongoing for 40 years by one man, an artist. That's a kind of American commitment to create something for us, the public, that will last for a very long time, to show what we can create as human beings. And that's, I think, what Mike has set out to do. And this, he's putting the finishing touches on it now. And in the end, this will merge the sense of the great American Western landscape with prehistoric paintings on rocks to the open, vast landscapes and mountains, and an artwork at the center. I think it's true that a lot of our sense of landscape and our protection of the sense of our environment and our space comes from artists who have shown us, poets, painters, shown us how beautiful, how important our sense of space and land is. And I think nowhere better than the American West, which is perhaps the most extraordinary landscape in the world. It is to me. And so we are so grateful as the community of those who are interested in art and American art and landscape that this is happening, and we owe an incredible debt of gratitude to all of these people. And I'm speaking on behalf not just of the museum, but all of us who love art and environment. Senator Reid, you've been an incredible protector, not only of the land for us, but of this artwork. And when you came and visited and connected with it, I felt like this was a moment where the American government was doing something that was done in ancient civilizations and done in Rome or Florence or in Egypt or in China and Beijing, to protect things that are really valuable for our future generations. So thank you, Senator Reid, especially. And Michael Heizer, the artist, is right here.
Well, I don't speak much about it, but I can say that Senator Reid was involved with this project. It's not 40 years, it's 50 years.
50 years of work, okay.
But
sorry, I underestimated. I've only been involved for 20.
Long before the sculpture was begun, he helped us as farmers with our water issues, because there was a lot of water conflict. So he was helping us for 20 years before we got building on the Sculpture Association. So long association with him, and he's always been our friend. And we've always considered him a real senator for the purpose of what I think a senator really is. So we sure like him.
I know it's not appropriate to do a speech and read a lot of names, but I'm going to do that because there's so many people that made this possible. And it took a long time, a lot of patience, and everyone would bear with me just a minute while I read a few names. Neil Kornze is one of my prize alumni, and I'm so proud of him for what he's done as a steward of the lands of the Great West. So Neil, thank you very much for your persistence, your dedication to public lands in America. I just wish the election turned out a little different, but anyway, they didn't. So, solicitor has been, Janice, you've been really important because everything that we've done, we had to look at it as to what would happen legally. And you and, of course, Josh have done a wonderful job of helping protect what we know has to be done legally, and you've done a great job. Nikki, who is the deputy chief, or is the chief of staff, I'm sorry, for Secretary Jewell, I mean, we had to have them aboard, and you've been tremendous to make sure that Secretary Jewell liked what we were doing. Tommy Boudreau, is Tommy here? Yeah, Tommy, I've got to mention his name. I called him several times and appreciate all he's done. Brian Deese, I didn't see Brian. He's not here, is he? Brian also, we must mention his name because he has been instrumental to what we've been able to do. Christy Goldfuss, I don't know if Christy's here. There you are, Christy, thank you. She has a cauliflower ear because all the calls that have been made to her on this and a few other things. Michael Govan, a lot of people are responsible for what we've done, but no one more responsible than you. You were there, you recognized the genius in what Michael had done and was doing, and so we're grateful to you for believing in this good man, Michael Heizer. You've been instrumental in his projects, and his projects are not simple little projects. Magnetic levitation, that boulder that hangs out in the middle of nowhere, how that was carried over the roads of the most populous state in America is hard for me to comprehend. I've seen the film of it. It's really quite unbelievable. You know, we talk about people having a vision, and we look at it in a lot of times in a spiritual context and leave it to religion. But really there are things that are we don't look at as religious in nature, but really probably are a little spiritual. What Michael Heizer has done is about as visionary as anything that one can imagine. To think, you know, we hear about this project that took so long, decades after decade after decade. And we think, a lot of people think that don't know what took place, is that he was sitting in some office drawing pictures. But that isn't the case. This man for decades ruined his health. They didn't work 8 hours a day. For many, many years, they worked 2 shifts, at least 2 shifts, worked very, very hard. Big equipment that some of it he ran, but he always was so protective of what they were doing that he wanted to make sure it was perfect. And we know the stories. The stories are that he had done a lot, and they measured it was a little bit off, tore it down, started over. This is an unbelievable work of art. There's no way that I or anyone here can describe this. You have to see it. And Michael Govan, you indicated that it would be there for a long time. It's going to be there forever. He has gone to so much trouble. Michael Heizer, so much trouble to work on the dirt, call it the dirt. That's going to be there. That stuff is not going to go away. He made his own dirt. I can't really describe, as I just said, how we should all feel the presence of a genius, and we have one here. He probably could if he wanted to do a lot of other types of work, but his genius is in art. We talk about this project, and this, of course, is the pinnacle of everything he's done, but he's done stuff all over the world. This is a famous man that we're with today, and I hope everyone understands what it means to be in the presence of one of the great artists of all time. You heard. The New York Times has written, the Washington Post has written, that this is one of the great feats of art in the last decades. And as we've heard here today, probably one of the most important, significant works of art in the last 100 years in America. So, Michael, this is amazing. We've talked about your work of art, but I've heard you describe in such terms John Muir up there, camping in Basin Range, looking down at this miraculous vista that we can see. Nevada's an amazing state. People do not realize Nevada is the second most mountainous state in America. The only one more mountainous is Alaska. We share a mountain with California that's approximately 14,000 feet high, Boundary Peak. We have 32 mountains over 11,000 feet high. We have 314 separate mountain ranges. One of the most dangerous places to fly other than Alaska is Nevada in a small plane because these weather patterns develop so quickly. So Nevada is a wonderful state, but its beauty is enhanced by the work that Heizer's done and the work that President Obama and his crew, the name of whom, names of each one of them I tried to mention here today, to allow this to be protected forever. So, Michael, you and I, when you started this, we were younger men, more physically vibrant than we are now. You didn't have all the physical challenges you've had the last few years. I wasn't blind in one eye, but I'm so fortunate that I have had the opportunity to look with my eyes to see this beautiful piece of work that you've done. And I will always remember you, the work you've done, and what we've all worked together to preserve the city and Basin Range. Thank you all very, very much. Now, I've been told we're gonna, before we do the ceremony, we're gonna take a few questions. Okay. Oh, not you again. Okay. Don't you ever go away.
I'd stay here full time. There's a report out today saying that U.S. intelligence officials believe that with a high degree of confidence that Vladimir Putin was personally involved in the hack and directing what went on during the elections. Do you have reason to believe that to be true?
Manu, all you have to do is go back and look at my letter in August that I wrote to Comey and the one I wrote in October. I think this is out in the open now, and I think that it's about time that Comey acknowledged publicly what a disservice he's rendered to our country by doing nothing except interfering with the election that is beyond all precedent, what he did. He became such a partisan that he should become the new chair of the RNC, okay?
So what about Putin? Was Putin directly involved from what you understand?
What I understand, the answer is clearly yes. And his having been former head of the KGB, does that surprise you? And does it surprise anybody today when he denied it? Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit of a story about the first time you both met each other, and what did you think of each other? You know, what did you think of this artist, and Mr. Heizer, what did you think of this senator?
Well, I have some friends in Nevada called the Molaskis. They're a family of means. They've done a tremendous amount to develop southern Nevada. And I'd heard about this guy for a long time. They had purchased some of his art, and I heard about him, and I thought, wow, this guy's an unusual man. And the more I learned about him, the more anxious I was to go there. And when I went there a few years ago, it wasn't easy to get there. I reminded Michael today that we blew out 2 tires going there. He said, well, that's not the quality of the roads, it's the quality of the tires. But, you know, there's certain people you meet initially and you kind of bond. We have backgrounds that are dissimilar, but they're similar in the fact that we love open spaces and we love art. And Michael, when I first met you, it's as if we had known each other our whole life. Michael, it's your turn.
Well, not only did he blow 2 tires out when he came out, but he sent a couple of his security guys out a few days before with 2 cars, and they blew their tires out.
Government tires.
And they didn't know how to change the tires. But
But your crew did.
I did.
Yeah.
And they gave me a gold plaque medal, kind of a thing they hand out to guys like me. So I have that. But anyway, my story is the same. I worked with him for 20 years before we worked on this project on water issues because we were threatened by water takings issues in Nevada that wanted to come pump this rural water. And he actually defended us and stopped the incursion. And we were farming and we wanted the water. It was very serious to us. So I'd had an association with him. I hadn't met him, but many letters and phone calls and through his offices for, I think, probably 20 years before
And
we
Michael,
worked
you know,
on
the
this.
interesting thing is this project was supported by ranchers, not all of them, but most of them. And Ubaldi, you know, he was there. When I came there that day, I'd met him before, but he was there. So this is a rare thing that something as unique as this was signed on to by virtually everybody.
Well, the nature of what you did is you, I believe, John Roos could tell you, but I believe he ultimately innovated a new protection for Western lands for the traditional uses is what we call them. And that means grazing cattle, which is not a bad thing. So a lot of people were ultimately given long-term protection. I believe that's how you would see it. It's how we see it. And all the people we know that run cattle. So it's a holistic accomplishment that he did. It's not just isolated to one unique artwork. It was generic to the region, and it was protective of the traditions of these families that had been running livestock in this part of the world and want to continue to. And they have a much more enhanced future now than they ever did before within this Basin and Range monument. So it's not a withdrawal at all. It's not what some people might think it was.
Pardon me?
Do you have any concerns with the new administration that these protections can be undone?
No, none whatsoever. No. No, I have no problems at all. I think that we have protected ourselves legally. That's why I'm glad the solicitor's here. And no, I have no concern. Trump's got more stuff to worry about than trying to take away the city on this Basin Range.
Senator, on a broader point, I know you're confident about this monument staying in place, but obviously the Antiquities Act may be used a few times again before President Obama leaves office. Could you talk about what you think about Democrats' ability to protect the broad right under the Antiquities Act for the president to exercise these safeguards as well as the fact that you feel that other
President Obama has used it a lot of times that we just heard, but he's not the first one to use it a lot of times. The Antiquities Act it goes back to the first noted work done on this is Theodore Roosevelt, one of the great environmentalists in the history of our country. So it's not as if Obama's done alone. And I think there's general agreement that the Republicans will try to mess with the Antiquities Act somewhat. But let's hope that under the rules of the Senate and the goodwill of people who care about the environment that can be stopped. But what we've done already it's done. And we hope that before January 20th, maybe some more will be done.
Just elaborating on that, could you just speak about the prospects for what you obviously
Pardon me?
the prospects
broadly, what impact you think you've had on the Nevada landscape?
Well, I'm not going to talk about Gold Butte today. Everybody knows how I feel about that, but that's not up to me. It's up to the president at this stage. I've given the administration all my input, and people here have heard me enough on that issue. But I feel comfortable with what we've been able to do in Nevada. I have started with, when I came to Congress, we had 60, 70,000 acres of wilderness. Now we've got more than 4 million plus other designated lands that the president's taking care of. So I feel okay with what I've been able to do with public lands. Yes.
FBI, do you think that fixed term or no fixed term should step down?
Well, I've said he should resign a long time ago, but obviously he's basking in the glow of the election because that's how he wanted it to turn out. And so I don't see him going anyplace unless he gets a quirk of conscience.
What's the strategy for the Democrats, you think, in terms of some of these confirmations, whether it's Tillerson or anybody else?
I am not going to be able to vote on any of them, which troubles me a little bit. But I think it's better that I let the new leadership and others talk about what they're going to do with the raft of nominations, which are a little concerning to me, and I think the American public. It goes without saying that that the election was determined in a very unique way. You know, Hillary Clinton's going to get about 3 million more votes than Trump. We haven't had a president ever since he kept keeping records, doing polling since 1942, of anyone that has such a low approval rating at this time of their election. So we'll see, but I'm going to let my friends work next year. If they have any advice and counsel, I know the rules pretty well, and they call me, but I'm not going to. I think that's enough on nominations.
Which are the nominees that you're most concerned about?
No, I don't think I should get into that. Yes.
Where are you going to be on January 20th, and will you watch the ceremony?
But not in person. And I will see if I watch it. You know what? I'm going to start on January 4th when I head back to Nevada. I have a goal. That's what I want to do. Okay. Ready to sign up now?
So if Senator Reid wants to take a seat, and I'll join him in a second, as well as a few other people. So I just want to say in some concluding remarks that what we're going to do here is I will sign the document that actually accepts the conservation easement on the sculpture that's surrounded by the National Monument. Then we'll sign some commemorative documents. But we're commemorating some very important things here, right? One is the legacy that Senator Reid leaves behind, which is the protection of more than 4 million acres in the state of Nevada, and he has driven and enabled protections all around the country. And so his mark will permanently be visible to us in this country and available to generations going forward, including my son that turned 1 last week. So, you know, looking forward is something that Senator Reid has always done, and we will always have his efforts with us. But two other, I think there's 2 relationships that we're also commemorating. One is the extraordinary bond that was developed between the artist Michael Heizer and Senator Reid. I happened to be there the day when they met, and it was instant and extraordinary. And to watch them travel through the sculpture together, it was like watching brothers come together later in life. A really beautiful thing. And also, much less noted, but also powerful in its impact on this country, is the relationship between Michael Heizer and Michael Govan. These 2 gentlemen have changed the face of American art and continue to do so. And so I want to honor them with today's ceremony and with the signing. And so we'll get to it.
Yeah, come over on the other side.
Okay, conservation easement is accepted. Sign a few of these certificates. Michael and Janice. Sign as well.
Thanks, everybody.